So as you saw out in the lobby, this is Connection Sunday, where we are challenging, like we've been talking about the last few weeks, God, where do you want me to serve? And in this message, we're going to talk about the church, but really it goes way beyond that, way beyond that. Is this life of serving, this life of loving the way he's loved us, the way he serves us, is not just here in this building. It's as we live that here in this building as a church family, he sends us out to live that in every other area of our life. But if that's what's happening in our life, what he has done, serving us, loving us, all those things that we're going to talk about today, it should be evident right here in the church family. And so we want to talk about that today. You're going to hear from some testimonies of why some people in the church serve. And because you can hear from me all day, but I wanted you to be able to hear from them. And so the simple question that goes along with what we've been talking about the last few weeks is that we are not a body of people that choose to ring the bell, to quit, to come up with excuses, to disengage, to be that critic, like the quote from Roosevelt, to be that critic on the outside of the arena, throwing darts, throwing critical darts, that we are a church that chooses to be engaged in the battle of life, to be engaged in the arena that God's called us to, not criticizing from the outside, but serving through our life. And so the simple question of why serve? I mean, all the other things that pull us in life, all the different things that want our time, why serve? And I think every one of us understand, or hopefully understand, that there's a pretty simple answer. Because of that's who he is to us. That's his love for us. That he didn't just come to this earth as the Son of God to teach, to even work miracles, to heal, to feed the thousands. He came serving through all those things, but to serve even to the ultimate sacrifice of his life. And I guarantee you that going backwards, well, we know this, I don't have to guarantee you that wasn't the original story. God didn't create Adam and Eve with the intention of saying, you don't have a choice, you're going to go out, you're going to betray what I've asked you, you're going to sin, and this place is going to be a mess. That wasn't the original story, and yet Jesus Christ, through his Father's calling, willingly came to this earth to love and to serve us, even to the point of giving his life for you and I. That's who he was. That's who he is for us today. Jesus. Matthew 20:28, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many. Think about that. He comes as Jesus Christ, Son of God, but comes fully as man. How hard that would be to not want, okay, Lord, I'll go, but I'd like some of that extra stuff that comes with being the Son of God. And yet he came to this place, to a simple man and woman who raised him in a simple home, who spent his life serving and loving. It's amazing to understand his love for us. And here's the deal, is what I think is missed out a lot with serving is that if you look in a secular world, a lot of times serving and leadership, you don't hear them placed in the same area. When yet the greatest leaders, I believe, are ones that understand how to serve and follow. To serve, to see a need, to meet the need. The greatest leaders, because if you look at Jesus Christ, I think every one of us would say the greatest leader of all time. And yet had the biggest servant's heart of all time. They're reminding me. That was a not so subtle reminder that they're going to take. So right now, they're going to take offering, tithes and offering. I wanted to talk about serving. They're going to serve, and they're going to collect the tithes and offering. I just want to say thank you for giving, and bless you for your faithful giving. And the ushers, can we give them a round of applause for their faithful serving? The greatest leaders serve. We're called to lead from the front. We talk about that so much here at Christian Life, is that we don't want to lead from the back, just giving direction, that we want to lead by our lives, by example, in our love and serving. Not just when it's on our timing or when it's our way, because honestly, who in this room can raise your hand and say, serving can be messy at times. Serving can be tough at times. Serving doesn't go along with my time schedule all the time. It doesn't look exactly the way that I want it to all the time. If you're my son Mikey, he will tell you exactly what he'd like you to do and when, and it never matches up with what I want. We took him, if you know Mikey and some of his special challenges, sensory stuff is overload. So if you haven't noticed as a church, we have decided to quit cutting his hair, ever. Until he decides it's not a lifetime traumatic decision that's shaking and gripping and screaming, the sensory overload, it's just too hard for him. So we're like, you know what? This is better for him and us as humans to not have to do this anymore. And so he's going to be the long-haired, curly, blonde surfer kid walking around Christian Life. But he also was taken to the dentist the other day. And I called, and I wanted to know how it went with Mikey. Mikey doesn't only not want to go to the dentist, Mikey doesn't allow mom and dad to even put a toothbrush in his mouth. That's a two-parent ordeal anytime you try to brush his teeth. One holding most of his body down, the other one opening his mouth and shoving a toothbrush in. I'm not joking you. It's a difficult process. And sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. He is a bite grip of an alligator. But he went to the dentist, and he was sitting in the chair, and I was told that when the dentist came in, one of the things that he wanted to tell them is that not today, I'll come back tomorrow. Not today, I'll come back tomorrow. And he kept saying, how about tomorrow? How about tomorrow? Through crying and tears and scared, and how about tomorrow? I'll come back tomorrow. Because it's not on our timing much of the time with Mikey, it's on his timing. Next time they came in, they're trying everything and fun and games. He just looks at them and says, hey, let's chat about it. Let's just chat about it. Like that's going to do the dental work. Let's just talk about dental work, and then I'll walk out of here. You'll feel good about yourself. I'll feel good about myself, and we can go. And at the end, they said, well, Megan, this is also normally the time we do a full x-ray. And Megan was like, we'll pass. All the baby teeth will just fall out, and we'll x-ray the next set, See, in Mikey's world, it's never on our time. His serving is when he wants to serve, how he wants to serve, doing what he wants to do, and he'll tell you if he doesn't like your idea. And most of the time, he'll just say, I'll do that later, or I've got a better idea. I didn't ask for your idea, Mikey. I asked you to go to the bathroom. But serving is not when we are always ready. Serving is not always easy. Like I said, it can be messy. It can be against my time schedule much of the time. In fact, serving looks a lot different than the way I think or would have written it up many times. But Jesus Christ came not with the perfect story of saying, hey, this is going to be so easy, but he came knowing he was going to give his life for you and I. That's who he was and is for each of us today. And here's the deal. That's who he's called us to be for everyone else today. We are to lead the way from the front in our serving. We were created, number one, to love him. We are created with love by him. And we are created to love them, meaning everyone else. When I know my relationship with God is off, the first thing he'll show me is my view of people and how it's changed. When I'm not seeing people through his lens, I'm seeing people through my lens. And so why serve? Because that's who he is. And so at this time, I'm going to play the video a little earlier. If we could cue up the video. And I want you to hear from some people in the church why they serve.
Christian Life, we've been talking about serving this morning. In just a little bit, you're going to have the opportunity to dive in and not be the critic from the sidelines, but be someone who gets involved in their church family. And that's what I love about this body of people at Christian Life. We're a family that loves to serve. So many times I've talked to my kids about when something needs done in the house or around the yard or with involving the family, I want to raise our kids up where they are seeing something, they're seeing a need, and they're diving in. They're not waiting just on Megan and I to say, hey, you need to do this, you need to go up to your room and do this, but seeing the need and filling that need by serving, because that's what a family does. And here at Christian Life, we've been talking all morning about the heart of Jesus Christ, his heart to serve and love in the process of being the greatest leader of all time. Because I think sometimes people conflict leadership and serving and say those two don't go together, but yet they do. The greatest leaders serve. And so this morning, I'm asking you to go out and pick the ministry that God's laid on your heart. Pick the area that God's laid on your heart. Join in. There's so many needs across the church that we as a family can join in and serve. And so instead of me just telling you all morning why serving is so awesome and what God does through us and in us through serving, I wanted you to hear from some of the people right here in our Christian Life family who are serving and doing a wonderful job. And there's so many more beyond these that are sharing with you this morning, but I wanted these testimonies to be able to encourage you as we as a church family go out and join in filling the needs right here at Christian Life.
Why do we serve and why do we volunteer? For me, it's not only because I love it, but it's an opportunity to show the love of Jesus Christ. For me, ministry is a passion in my heart, and I'm able to then go out and serve others. Jesus came to serve, not be served. So when we have the opportunity to serve others, we're not only reflecting Him, but we're showing the love of Jesus Christ.
The reason I serve is because I love to be a part of things. I see church as more of a family, and I find the best way to get to know your family is to be a part of things, to work beside them. And I realize that it takes more than just Michael Hunsberger to operate the church. When I first began to serve, I just looked for places to fill, just holes to fill. It didn't really matter what it was. And I found that the more that I was involved in things, the more I enjoyed being here at the church. I began to go here early just to be here and available, and found that Sundays were an exciting day now for me, not just a day to fill a pew.
Having confidence in trying new things is something that I've always kind of struggled with, and I think many probably identify with that. But I've learned that over the years in my job, when I've tried new things, I've learned and gained confidence through trying new things. And actually I experienced a moment of doubt in myself last November when Stacy Watrous asked me to be a teacher in the discipleship room. My heart kind of sank. I didn't want to do that, but I said yes because I knew it was an invitation from the Lord. But I think the reason why I struggled with it so much is because I'm constantly comparing myself to other people and their abilities, and Stacy, as you know, is a wonderful teacher. But I've taken that on, and so I've been teaching in discipleship for the last 6 months now, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been so much fun, and we actually had a lesson on confidence last Sunday. So the thing that I would want people to know is that God sees you in a different way than you see yourself, and stop comparing yourself to others. Jesus goes with you and before you. Thank you.
I enjoy pouring into the boys in a way that I can help them see who God is through my life and through the teachings that we do and through the mentorship program that Royal Rangers is, and then through the activities to see them grow. With Royal Rangers, it's growing in a way that's stated to be physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially in all the ways that a boy grows. We try and hit all those ways to see them mature and become godly young men. And so the satisfaction, I guess, if there is any in my volunteering, is being able to witness that. But mostly it's to see those boys, the next generation of men, be trained up in a way that honors God and is fulfilling His kingdom's call.
When I started volunteering with the sound team, I really wasn't sure if it was for me. Michael and Megan approached me and asked me, and I was nervous about it. I felt like I didn't have the time. We've got 3 little kids and really busy life, and I wanted to be part of it. It wasn't that I didn't want to, but I just was really questioning if it was for me. And I hemmed and hawed about it for a long time, and finally I said yes, because I just felt God telling me that this was for me. I love music, and this was an opportunity for me to not only be more involved with church, but also to be in touch with music more, which I haven't been able to just since my life as a mom. And so I started the sound team, and after my first day, even though it's a big job, we have to be here at 6:45 in the morning until noon, and I was just so worried about the time commitment was my biggest thing, but I love it. The time flies by, and I'm never as happy as I am when I'm done with the day, with the morning with the worship team and just being part of all of that activity. And as time goes on, I just find that it's pouring more and more into all the other areas of my life, because I have that joy that I'm walking away serving and being part of the team here, and also getting to know more of the church members as well, and really rooting our community here. So if you guys are thinking of volunteering, if you're just not sure what's out there, there's a lot of need in this church. There's a lot of really cool areas that you can reach out and serve. Do it because you're interested in it. Do it because you're feeling called to it, but do it with the excitement that knowing it's also going to provide so much joy, knowing that you're really doing a service for the church and also connecting here and being part of a team and digging in. It's going to be great. You're going to love it, and I really think it's going to give back a lot to you too.
But I did not. In fact, most of them, I asked to do that on the week of when we recorded, because I didn't want them freaking out. I didn't want them writing something up that they thought sounded what it should. So they just spoke from their heart, and what they said was awesome. God, I didn't have the confidence to teach. You gave it to me because I answered the need. Nate said, just seeing the need, filling the need, it wasn't necessarily an area that maybe I thought was the perfect area for me. And so just hearing from them and what God has done through them, Wes talking about the boys that he works with, all these different things. Hannah, why we serve? Because that's who he is. Better question, she said, is why don't we serve? Because that's who he is to each one of us. That's who he is, his love for us. And many times we get stuck in believing lies, right? We come up with excuses to tap out that we've been talking about. I'm not smart enough. I'm not confident enough. I can't do this. I don't know how to teach the kids. I don't know how to work in the media. I don't know how to do this. I don't have the skills, the abilities. I haven't been Christian long enough. I haven't been at church long enough. I don't belong in some way or other. That's why we put it on our wall in the lobby, is that you do belong. You belong in the family of God. God has created each one of us with talents and abilities that he desires to use in the kingdom of God, not just here in the Christian Life family. You belong as a son and daughter of the King, because that's who he created you as. You belong here in our Christian Life family. You are his, and here's the deal, is he also created us for each other. You have talents and abilities that I need in my life to encourage and hold me up. You have needs that I can meet by things that are in my life. And that's the way the body, the family works, is we've talked about so many times when I have challenged my kids, is don't wait for me to say, use that ability or that talent. You can meet that need. You see that need. Let's jump in with 2 feet. Let's lead from the front. Don't wait for 4 days for me to tell you. See that need, see that hurt. Be that answer that Jesus Christ has called you to be, to point people to Jesus Christ. But you have those talents, those abilities he's poured into you. 1 Peter 4:10, each one of you should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various forms. And here's the awesome part. is not only will you refresh others through your serving, God wants to refresh you through your serving. We said a week or two ago is that if God has called you to something and there is burnout in that serving, it's something that he wants to do in here. Because the Bible tells us is that not only will you be refreshing others through your serving, he'll also be refreshing you. And so I want to read from Proverbs 11:25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. When I separate myself and get out of the way, and it's not about me serving, it doesn't have to line up perfect with me. God, I'm done giving excuses. I'm going to be that child you've called me to be, to serve, to love. It's amazing what he does in my life. It's amazing the refreshing I get. And so listen, when God calls, if there's burnout, it's something he wants to do in here. There's something he wants to speak to you. There's something he wants to do in our own heart. Run to him. And so as we listened to that, we heard that not only what God was doing in them, but through them in how they were serving. And what I'm calling us as a family is that we are choosing not to be that critic from the outside. And I want you to listen to that full quote from Franklin Roosevelt, who failed a lot of times. This speech was done after he had lost his rerunning for president, and he had lost, and they said it really devastated him, went into a deep depression at times, and this was down the road. This is after that. Because as a family, we've been saying we're not quitting, we're committed even when it gets rough. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points at how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. We can choose to be on the sidelines throwing critical darts, or we can choose to jump in as a church and not just serve here, but in every sphere of influence that God has placed us in. Listen to this quote that's also from the speech that most people don't know as well. And sometimes as a church, we can fall into this, a cynical habit of thought and speech, a readiness to criticize work which the critic himself never tries to perform, an intellectual aloofness which will not accept contact with life's realities. All these are marks not of superiority, but of weakness. A lot of times at church, we come up with these really good spiritual sounding excuses, and it's more of a spiritual aloofness that we're trying to put across. And God's saying is, listen, I didn't call you to live on the sideline. I didn't call you to just see a need and say why it shouldn't be and why it needs to be and how it should be. I created you to jump in and serve in your workplace, in your school, in the supermarket, in your neighborhood, in the church. I created you to love the way I love you, to serve the way I serve you, and that is without self. When we signed up and said, Lord, I give you my life, that's saying, Lord, I get out of the way, and I want your will to be my will. And I want to lead from the front by loving and serving. And if you look at that speech from a Christian point of view, is God is saying, listen, it's easy to throw those darts from the outside. Because at times, I guarantee you that Stacy's made mistakes teaching the kids and look back and goes, I really would have done that differently. It's easy for me to sit on the sideline and say what I would do differently if I was Stacy. I would teach the kids this, I would teach them this way, and I would do this. And if the church needs this and this needs that. But the reality is that that's not who God's called me to be. As a son or a daughter of the King, he's called me to be engaged in the battle, committed without excuse, And I'm going to make mistakes. We're going to learn. We're going to grow from those mistakes as the family of God. And so mistakes will happen. But listen, I would much rather make mistakes learning, serving, and loving the way He's called me to love than to sit on the sideline and always regret never engaging in the battle. So today, my mission was to make a record-breaking pace. Eric, did you time it? Did I break my record? No, close. I've almost broke my record. Eric does not want to give me credit for the actual record breaking, because today was not just about me sharing a word. It was about being challenged by God. And I'm asking us as a church, is that out in the lobby, if you hadn't already noticed when you came in, a lot of the departments, there's needs. After COVID, there's a lot of things that we want to continue to do in kids ministries and all the other ministries that we want to be able to go into our community and do again. We need the family of Christian life to step in, to engage, and serve. Sometimes we wait and we do this. Michael, you said, if we're called. Calling is not like this. Eric Groves, please, your page to the coffee shop. Eric Groves, your page to the coffee shop. You're going to work on the 2nd and 4th Sundays in the coffee shop. Listen, I wish that God spoke to me just like that. I didn't have to wonder. I'd just be walking along the neighborhood and all of a sudden that voice came out of nowhere. Because it'd be real easy just to go, oh, all right, I'm there on 2nd and 4th Sunday, Lord. See, the reality is we are called. We are all called as a family to serve and love together. And so now what our mission is to see the need, to jump in and fill the need. Everything from the department you're seeing through offering our community carnival again this fall, these things that we know that God's called us into as we go branch out into these new mission partners that we are partnering with, these outreaches that we are beginning up. God has placed every talent, every ability right here in this body that we need to meet those needs that He's called us to. And so I'm asking us to go out and say, Lord, where and which one? How do you want me to jump in and serve my family? And I know that as we do that, a year from now, 2 years from now, we're going to see major dividends in the kingdom of God all around us as we answer the call to serve. And so would you stand with me? The candy out there is not just for you to take candy, Eric. The candy out there is also to entice you to the table, but then we're jumping in as Christian life, all right? So would you bow your heads with me? This time of worship this morning, both services were just a sweet time with God. And both services, I felt Him say something similar, is that the breakthrough is found through worshiping Him. So many times in my life, my breakthrough is found through worship and serving. And it's because neither one have anything to do with me. And my eyes can't remain focused on me and my timeline and my stuff. It's focused on Him and in serving on others. And that's when He does the most amazing things in my heart, is when I take my eyes off of me. And so, Father, this morning, God, we desire to be a people of commitment. God, we desire to be a people that see a need, to see the hurting, and we choose to jump in and to serve and to love the way You've called us to. God, I pray for a fresh filling, a fresh joy in serving, found through serving, God. I pray that You begin to ignite our heart to love and serve the way you have called us to. Lord, I pray that You place specific areas of need on each person's heart. God, I pray that You place specific people in our lives, on our hearts, that need to hear about You. That, Lord, that You have called us to be that light in their life. God, I pray that You guide and direct us, and that we will be a people that lead from the front without excuse, committed and loyal to living the life You've called us to. Jesus, we worship You this morning. We give You our praise. Our breakthrough will be found through our worship of You, God, and serving of others. In Jesus' most heavenly name we pray. Amen. Have an awesome week, Christian Life. We love you, and go enjoy hearing about all the different things that people are working in Christian life.